What's happening, people? Welcome to another episode of Natty News Daily. We've got a special guest on, Mr. America. Is that how you would say that? Or Miss America 2021, both Masters and Open. Super excited to have Rebekah on the podcast. Rebekah, welcome to Natty News Daily.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So we're super excited. We're kind of doing like a Mr. America series leading up to the show. So we've got three guests. Rebekah will be, I guess, the third of the three. So this will go up for those watching this. Mr. America is probably next weekend by the time this is going live. So she's a couple weeks out at this point. But let's go back a bit. Rebekah, to what got you into bodybuilding? What brought you to this crazy world we live in?
Yeah, it is a crazy world, that's for sure, and a crazy world that I honestly knew nothing about
Okay.
up until I guess recently. So I guess my journey really started back in 2019. I was going to turn 40 that year. I don't even think I had a gym membership, to be honest with you, leading up into that point. But I grew up being a runner. I started running when I was like 10 years old. I ran in high school. I ran in college. And after about, 25 years of running, I started having like knee injuries. So, from there, I kind of got into cycling, picked that up, did a triathlon, did a couple 100-mile bike rides.
Damn.
And then that was giving me some knee pain. So from there, I was getting close to my birthday, and it was kind of always a goal of mine just to be super fit, by the time I turned 40. So I decided, you know what, I want to hire a trainer. Mm-hmm. So I actually met, if you've heard of Sean John Tanning, he's usually present at almost probably every show I've competed at. I was introduced to him probably like mid 2019. And I trained with him for about 3 to 4 months. I turned 40, had a big celebration, and I just kind of fell in love with like just the look and the feel and going to the gym and getting on a good diet. And fast forward maybe 6 months into 2020, I ran into Sean John again at the gym, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you stuck with it." I'm like, "Yeah, I really enjoy this." And he was like, "You should compete." I was like, "Compete in what?"
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Bodybuilding. I'm like, "Look at me. I'm like 100 pounds." I just thought of, the big bodybuilder gals. And
yeah.
So anyways, I kind of took him up on his challenge. And hired him in about May of 2020. And we decided to pick a show in August. We chose that show because he, taught me the difference between, natural versus, the not natural, I guess. And that was definitely like up my alley. So my first show was Utah State. That was in August of 2020.
What organization was that?
So that was with the INBA. Yeah. And just kind of a backstory too, that kind of goes into why I continued with it. And this is a little bit personal, I guess, but with the permission of my daughter and a little bit more insight into kind of what fuels my fire. I was about 10 days out from my first show. Didn't know what I was getting into, didn't know what to expect. And sadly, my oldest daughter, who had been kind of battling with some depression, ended up in the hospital like 10 days before my show.
Oh my God.
Yeah, a few people know this story, but yeah, the depression got the best of her. She was actually in a coma for that week. Whoa. And of course, I was done, right? This thing was new to me. I had never done it before. I told my trainer I was going to pull out. I was in the hospital with her like every day for about a week.
Yeah.
We get home, I want to say, a little over a week before the show. And she miraculously, made a full recovery. My daughter asked me, she's like, aren't you going to the gym? I'm like, what are you talking about? And she's like, you've got that show. I'm like, honey, it's over. I'm not going to do it. It's okay. And, she said to me that day, she was like, Mom, I don't care if you take last place. But seeing you commit to it, has given me, the strength, and I want you to see it through. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. So I called my trainer. I'm like, yeah, we got a little over a week. Let's do this. So I went back into prep, did some like crash posing courses with him. And yeah, it was super powerful. It was really emotional. I did my first show. I think I took first place in the Masters. I took first place novice. I actually won best presentation, and I earned my pro card.
Wow.
So it was an incredible experience. And then I just decided hey, let's give this another shot, with a better prep leading into a show, a better peak week. And then I competed in Team USA the following month, and then on to the Olympia. That was kind of my first year.
That's crazy. This podcast is so cool. Like, we hear so many insane stories from people, and it just goes to show you never know someone's true story unless they disclose it with you, right? Like, we've had podcast guests that have battled illnesses, and people that have survived car accidents and all this kind of stuff, and you're just another example of like how wild life can be, and how you can use that in a positive light. So that's pretty incredible to hear.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, and you're right. And that's one thing I've loved, I got goosebumps about this sport, and just meeting so many incredible athletes. And everybody does have a purpose. Everybody does have a story. There's something to say about why we do what we do. And it's usually something pretty powerful and impactful like behind it.
For sure. Let's go back just a quick step. How did you find the transition from like what you did before was very cardio based to then shifting gears to very weight training focused training? How was that transition?
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of, I was kind of mind blown by it. I always thought to me being a runner, fit meant cardio, a hell of a lot of cardio, right? And I guess that's why I kind of fell in love with it, because, I was pain free, joint free. And here I am, 40 years old with a six pack. I didn't have a six pack when I was 17 years old, like running in college. And yeah, I really haven't done like that I haven't ran, since I got into this, which is awesome. It was a big transition, but a totally different, rush, I guess, of endorphins. So drastically different.
Did you find you were like a pretty quick responder? I would assume from running, you would have like, not a very muscular physique, right? You would have a runner's physique. So did you find once you took the cardio aside and really focused on the weight training that you started to develop muscularity rather quickly?
Yes and no. Just because I am built like a long distance runner, my challenge has always been building my legs, my lower body. I feel like, with my physique, I was able to, kind of build my upper body, my shoulders, but I'd always ask for feedback every show, my first year as an amateur. And it was always focus on your legs. So when I actually made my pro debut my first year at Olympia, so I competed as an amateur, and then I went pro the next day. And from there on out, I had to change my regimen and my routine. I was doing, legs like once a week, and I've been doing legs 3 times a week for 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
So that's always kind of been a challenge for me. Everybody has, their strengths and weaknesses. And I realized pretty quickly that I had to kind of triple down on the lower half.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I've heard someone go from like a a very cardio based sports background to weight training. Like typically, like from conversations we've had with people, it's, oh, I come from football, or I come from wrestling or rugby or some kind of where weight training's already in the routine, and then it's just refined more for bodybuilding specific training. But it's interesting to see, from you coming from running with marathons and all that kind of stuff, where, to a point, having more weight on your frame, like even from muscle standpoint, would be almost a hindrance, to now you're like, I just need to build.
Yeah. When I ran, in high school and college, we weren't allowed to strength train. If we did anything
for sure,
lightweight, a lot of reps. And, I do remember, I felt like there was this mental barrier that Sean John had to break with me as far as lifting heavy. I'd pick up, some weights, and I think of what I was, lifting back then. It wasn't very much, right? Because I just mentally thought this felt heavy. This can't be good. There's no way I can do this. And I think there is a mental barrier that you break, totally different than running, knowing that, you can actually, push that weight.
Yeah. Did you, because this is subject matter we've talked about with like people with body image and stuff like that. Did you have any challenges from like a body image standpoint when you stepped away from running and almost like not being thin anymore, like not chasing that look anymore? Was that weird for you at all?
No, I don't think so. Another thing I will say is I really liked working with Sean John too, because he really kind of understood me, my personality. I would say even now I'm definitely more of a flexible, dieter. It was really important to me that, I wouldn't get fanatical or obsessed with it, really, listening and like trusting my body. If anything, I was excited to be, putting on weight and getting the look that I was after.
So was it mostly the look that kind of drove you then through bodybuilding, or progressing in the gym, or both? Or did you find progressing in the gym and getting stronger was fun too?
Yeah, all of the above. But I was having this conversation with my dad. He's incredibly competitive. He's like 83 years old, and he still competes in basketball. Like he was
That's
just
awesome.
at the Senior Olympics. And so when I told him I was getting into bodybuilding, he was like, "What? Yeah, that's a sport, right?" And I remember telling him one day, like, "This is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I want to say it's harder than even like collegiate level running or training for a marathon, because mostly the diet, right? It's not just the time in the gym, but it's a dedication and commitment that you're making every single day. Like the diet is hard, right? It was a big learning curve for me. And I think that's why I like it. I've always been kind of programmed to just push my body to the limits. And a marathon, you're absolutely pushing your body. But I feel like this is pushing it, physically, mentally, and just the choices that you're making, every day, especially going into peak week. Like it's prep, food planning, like everything is on your brain 24/7.
Yeah, that's something that I don't think a lot of people fully like understand. I explain it to people, like you're constantly troubleshooting 24/7. Like, do I have this packed? Do I have this prep? Do I need to go get groceries? What time do I need to train? Did I do my cardio? Did I do everything I need to do in the gym? Like it's this constant like Rolodex of questions you're constantly asking yourself.
Yeah. And I also feel like, back to my running days, it was like race day. You're mentally preparing. But what I've learned with, bodybuilding, it's also balancing like that mental stress, right? Especially going into this show this year. It's taken just a lot of commitment to keep myself mentally like in check, right? I've seen it in myself and other competitors where, managing your stress and just how, cortisol can affect your body, right? Losing the weight, dropping the weight. So that's been I feel like that's been a big difference too, is, making sure you're on good supplements, keeping your dopamine high, keeping a positive balance, and just mentally not getting down on yourself, being really competitive. I'll admit, I want to say probably my first and second prep was the hardest, because I stressed about it so much. I'm still trying to, put in the time and, not back down, but I try to have a really healthy balance too. If I need a rest day, I'll take a rest day. If I want a day off, I listen to my body. So I think there is a lot of things that you need to balance, mentally, physically, emotionally, and, sometimes even like spiritually.
So
You
in,
have
in
Go
go ahead. So in reducing your stress between your preps or from your earlier preps, you touched on some of the points. Did you find that you found that some of your routines and habits and things just became sort of clockwork that you didn't have to think about, and that helped you in reducing stress too? Is that something you found as well?
Yeah, definitely. Um, I think, this one time I was at a gym. It was probably about a year and a half ago, and I ran into this trainer, and he was, complimenting me on my, success my first year, and, asking me about my physique. And I remember telling him, like, I really struggle with my legs though, man. I can't build my legs. And I remember he's like, what's your favorite part of your body? I'm like, oh, my shoulders. Like, they came in like pretty quickly. I even, kind of cut back on my shoulder day. And he was like, do you ever find yourself like just posing in the mirror, like flexing your shoulders? I'm like, yeah, well, of course. And he's like, well, what do you do, when you see your legs? Oh, I wish they were bigger. Oh, like, I wish they would grow. And he was like, just learn to love it. He's like, your body's like a flower, a plant. You gotta talk to it. You gotta stay positive. And as silly as that sounds, like I ended up like shifting my mindset and just, and I swear to you, like, I started getting like better results. I was trying to embrace it, be happy with, the accomplishments I've made so far, and just having that total, that overall like positive like outlook, I guess.
There's definitely like something to be said about like your mind and how that can reflect in your body, right? Like I think a while ago I read a study about like they had like one group that like believed they were going to get results from their training, and
Yeah.
one group that did the same thing but was like reinforced that this program's not very good. The results, they usually don't come out all that well, but we want to stick to it. And the two test groups did exactly the same thing, but the group that believed they were going to get great results because this was the best program, they got like 10x results that the other group did. So I firmly can understand what you're talking about, and I think a lot of people underestimate how much your mind can play in that whole, just in everything, really, like life as a whole, just making progress in life. I think your brain is probably the biggest tool.
Yeah, I agree.
Awesome. So let's fast forward now to 2021. You're getting ready for the Mr. America competition. You end up winning both Masters and Open. Run through that process for us.
Yeah, so let's see. To be honest with you, I had not even heard about the Mr. America. I was competing in Virginia at Philip Ricardo's show in 2021. And he had told me about it. He's like, you need to check into this competition. It's in Atlantic City. Honestly, I didn't even know the name of all the various natural leagues. And the way he put it to me, I'm like, so this is like the Super Bowl of like natural bodybuilding? I'm like, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And I think I had competed 5 times as a pro that year and won 5 first place titles in Masters. So my goal was to go back to the Olympia. I wanted to win the Masters in October. So I decided just to throw in Mr. America kind of last minute. And I was registered for the Masters. And after talking to a few people, they tried to convince me to do the open. I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way. There's no way. And I think last minute, I'm like, why not? And I gave it a shot. So that show was incredible. It was, you know, a moment that I will never forget. I mean, that double win, being able to win it, you know, Masters and Open was just, it was just awesome. Yeah.
Did you feel like it lived up to that thought in your head that it was like the Super Bowl of natural bodybuilding? Do you feel like it brought that hype?
Yeah, I loved it. It was, you know, I've only competed in the INBA. You know, I've got great friends in that league. It was awesome just meeting different competitors. I loved that they had, you know, different judges, you know, from different like federations. I thought that was really awesome, and just made it very, you know, very, very fair. And I think that was, for me, why it was that big of an accomplishment. It's not just getting, you know, one judge or, you know, a handful of similar judges that have been judging you for a couple years now. It was overall, and I believe it may have even been like a unanimous win. So that was, yeah, that was awesome.
Sweet.
Yeah.
How long did you prep for that show?
Well, I competed quite a bit that year. So, yeah, my first year I competed 5 times, and I think that year I competed 5 times. So honestly, I felt like I was in prep per se almost all year. I'd always give myself a pretty healthy break, you know, after a show.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, my trainer's always like, "Oh, what's the one celebration meal?" I'm like, "No, it's the weekend. It's
Get me out of here."
I eat everything in sight for a while. So
Yeah,
that was awesome. And then, you know, after that, I had the Olympia and I was able to win Masters there. And then as far as this year, I really, I've only done one show. I competed at Philip Ricardo's show. I chose that show because my dad lives in Virginia and he had never seen me compete before. And that was kind of like a season opener. I want to know coming out of the holidays that I just wanted to start with something early. And another bonus to that show was my middle daughter over the holidays decided she wanted to compete for the first time. So we started training in January. We competed together in April. She won her first show, open amateur, and she earned her pro card. And yeah, that was awesome. So that show, it was really fun just being in prep with her, training with her. Me and my daughters, we go to the gym almost every day together. It was really fun. But unfortunately this year I haven't been able to compete since April, and that's okay. I've a few things has made this year a little tough on me. I take care of my mom, who's been living with me since my stepdad passed away a couple years ago. You know, she's full-time care. She's disabled, bedridden. She has Alzheimer's and dementia, and it's made this prep a little bit challenging. You know, I don't necessarily have a routine. It's kind of I make it to the gym, you know, when I can. When you know, oftentimes I might be at the gym trying to sneak away, and I'm watching my mom on cameras, and you know, I have to cut my gym session early and run home. So this year, it's really been about, you know, trying to not back down and just making it count with the limited time, you know, I feel like I have to go to the gym, but I'm still feeling really good about it. Another thing that's been challenging is sadly, I was laid off like 3 months ago. I've been training with Tiffany Stosich. So when I went pro last year, I hired her at the beginning of the year, and she helped me throughout my first year as a pro. So, and honestly, that's had kind of like a different layer of stress. It's so nice to have like a coach and a trainer and give yourself that accountability. So it's almost been like a little tougher, right? Because that's all on myself. I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let her down. And yeah, thankfully I've got, you know, a lot of support with my friends and my kids. And I'm actually feeling really good about this show. So, I mean, as the numbers have it, I'm kind of ahead this year, as far as, leaning out and being on prep and all that. So I'm excited. I'm really excited going into the show.
Awesome. Will you be doing Masters and Open both again?
I will. Yep.
Defending both titles. No pressure.
Yeah, no pressure. No, this year is going to be tough, especially because, oh man, there's some incredible girls that are come to the show.
Yeah,
That are just absolutely amazing. I'm excited that they're going to be there. I'm excited to share the stage with them, and they're definitely the best of the best.
Yeah, the turnouts to Mr. America just improve year over year, which is really great to see.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a brilliant way to close this out. If people want to follow along with your journey, where do they find you?
My Instagram, heavyweights and protein shakes.
That was an awesome Instagram handle, by the way. Good job.
Thanks.
That's perfect. Well, guys, if you guys enjoyed this episode, let us know. You've got the Instagram handle there, heavyweights and protein shakes. A couple weeks out from Mr. America, defending the 2021 title that she won, Masters and Open, Miss Bikini. So we thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Not a problem. Thanks you guys for
Rebekah.
watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for future episodes, and we'll see you guys in the next one.